there's no way I can do anything here in one video. My voice is a little raspy. I just got off the phone from a long phone call with a like-minded individual. I got to tell you something, people. I'm getting very concerned. Very, very concerned. And I would think if anybody's paying attention to, the pulse in this country, whether it's being fanned by mainstream media or underground medias or whatever, we're in a lot of trouble. This is a pressure cooker. This is some serious business. And I kind of tongue-in-cheekly joke about, what I see are coming up in the next few months. And you can quote me on this. Okay, if I'm wrong, you can throw it in my face. Number one, Donald Trump is going to get reelected in a landslide. Number two, there's going to be a sequel, as I say. And if you like COVID-19, just wait for the sequel coming to a theater near you, COVID-20. There will be a resurgence, a reaffirmation of COVID, I think, before the year is over, or maybe right into the early new year of 2021. And they're going to cite possible reasons that due to all this rioting, it created more and more cases. They'll find whatever excuse, but they'll certainly attribute our bad behavior to why it came back. But there will be a second go round of this. So just when you thought it was safe to go outside, right? So there's going to be another bout of COVID. Trump's going to get reelected in a landslide. And I think, we're going to see more and more violence. I really don't feel so much that it's going to be racial violence. Maybe in part, but I think it's going to be more of a political or a slant or a viewpoint war between people, conservatives and liberals, and I don't really think gays against straights is going to play a lot, but again, we're the United States of America. Well, I think we can all agree across the board right now. The very last thing we are in this country is united. Solidarity, unity. No. I think if we called ourselves the divided states of America, that would still be an understatement, but certainly more closer to the actual truth of the milieus' feelings about one another. And when you have that much adversity, when you have that much diversity and that much division, you're on a powder keg. What's that ticking sound? Shit is going to really hit the fan. And I don't think we really have seen much of anything right now. I think it's it's building steam in some ways. It might be building some steam on some things that we're not even thinking about right now. Because, there's always the factor of expect the unexpected, right? Or the old adage, keep your friends close, your enemies closer, right? Well, who are your friends? Who are your enemies? Exactly. There was a line in MASH that Colonel Flagg once said, I keep myself in a constant state of utter confusion. Well, it kind of has some bearing now, doesn't it? And the powers that be want us that way. They want us at each other's throats. They want us at odds. They don't want us congregating. They don't want us sitting down and coming to the collective bargaining tables, as it were, and again, try to resolve our conflicts amicably, peacefully, sensibly. No. And what's interesting to me is that the people who are in power right now, and I'm not going to turn this thing into a big political cornucopia, but it's interesting that the people who are at the highest levels of government right now lived their youth at the time where they were, from the proverbial 60s, fighting against racial inequality and civil rights, fighting against an unjust war in South Vietnam, fighting about, healthcare reform and better living wages and unions, pollution and cleaning up the cities and the air, which in some ways I think we've done a pretty good job. But that generation is the one, other than Obama, who was born in 61. Do you know that 3 of the last 4 presidents we've had, Trump currently, Bush 2, Bill Clinton, 3 of the last 4 presidents we had were born the year after World War II ended in 1945. They were born in 1946. So you're thinking they're graduating high school in 64, they're getting their 4-year undergrad in 68, getting their, master's degrees by 1970, 71. So these are people that grew up remembering clearly President Kennedy being assassinated, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the Vietnam War, the Freedom Riders, and the buses that were burned, and all the hardships and of race and breaking color barriers in Southern colleges, and desegregating schools. Okay, yeah, I do sound like a history book. That's why I can kind of see a lot of what is happening and what could be happening again, because what's past is prologue. It can be. And it's interesting that 3 of the last 4 presidents were from the era that, we remember as, the best music and the freedom and standing up for what's right. These are the motherfuckers who are in charge. That is kind of ironic that 3 of our last 4 presidents were born in the same year, 1946. But, that said, Biden was born in 42, Nancy Pelosi in 1940, she's 80. All these people who grew up in the 50s and 60s and came into their own in the 70s and 80s and so forth and made their fortunes during the technology booms and the expansions. But at the end of the day, we're in a lot of trouble, people. And I'm very concerned about it, And this is, again, more fireside chat. This isn't about women. This isn't about music. This isn't about, my fucking house and my yard. No. Or my cat or no. This is some serious business, And I try to pick and choose what I talk about. And I have a lot of feelings about a lot of things that are very, in today's world. But I'm leery to discuss those, because there are eyes and there are ears everywhere. And I have to take that into consideration. Not that saying that I'm not willing to be a voice, but I'd like to be a voice of reason. I'd like to be a voice that maybe you will listen to what I'm saying and take into consideration what I'm saying. Not conspiracies or necessarily connecting the dots, but just take a look at more of the broad picture. Be an independent critic, be an independent investigative reporter. Don't buy what you read in the papers. Don't buy what you read in the social medias online. Think about things objectively yourself. And if you got to sit down and have a glass of wine or a beer or smoke a joint or take a nap first or whatever to get your thoughts in order, do it. Okay? But do it all the same. I don't care what it takes. But sit down and look at things broadly. Okay? Not conservatively, not liberally, but broadly. Just calling a spade a spade. It is what it is. Okay? Looking at it in real time with a center of focus. Okay? And write some things down if you need to. Record some things, whatever it takes. But don't just be quick to have that knee-jerk reaction and rush to judgment. Take a look at the facts. And, if the facts don't support something, or you clearly see that others are clearly in the wrong and are involved, well, then you have to, bring charges against everybody. You can't just isolate one incident or take things from a very close-minded or jaded point of view. You have to look at truly here the big picture. And the picture that we're looking at, I don't think is a picture. I think it's pictures, plural, and it's quite large. But in some cases, we might have to pay more attention to the smaller picture or pictures, because that's where things can snowball and mushroom. You know, we all know about what the big things are right now, but I think we got to start looking at some of the smaller things and the things that have yet unhappened. You know, they always say, "Hey, don't worry about it, man. It hasn't happened yet." That might be the best time to worry about it before it happens. So this is a different side, right? Well, this is just a side that's always there. I just generally bring other witticisms or jocularity or rock and roll, right? But take some time and look at everything. It'll help you, it'll help us collectively make much better sound decisions on how we, move forward. But I am very frightened about the directions we're heading in several arenas. If I was the pilot, I would be telling everybody to return to their seats right now. Put on your seat belts and buckle them tight, because I got news for you. I don't like it. You're not going to like it, but I'm going to get us through it as quick as I can, me and my co-pilot and my flight engineer. But we're going to go through some serious turbulence here, folks. So hang in there. We're going to get through this. And we can get through this together. We just can't panic. And we just have to evaluate the situation properly. Love you guys a lot, okay? Be good.